Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hi, and welcome back to Modern Musings. I'm your hostess, Cindy Murray, and I am here today with my co-hosts, Amber Jones and Kristen Murray.
Hi.
Howdy.
Tomorrow is May 1st, and a lot of people refer to that as May Day, but some people celebrate it as under another name, which is an Irish Celtic term called Beltane. And it is one of the 8 Shabbats of the year, of the cycle of the year. And it's what we call a cross quarter day, which means it falls exactly in the middle between a solstice and an equinox, or in this case, an equinox and a solstice. So it falls between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, and marks the beginning, basically, of the summer season, as far as growth and things like that goes. And it's kind of it's a very old traditional celebration, and it's kind of morphed into a lot of different things. And we thought this would be a kind of fun opportunity to talk about some of the traditions and how we might celebrate them in modern times. So the original celebration was a fire ceremony, a fire festival. And so the Druids would light bonfires, and they believed that the fires offered purification and that transition from the spring into the summer months. And they did a lot of different things, like the farmers would take their cows or their cattle, whatever kind of animals that they had, and they would lead them around the fire, around the bonfires, and the belief that that doing that would protect them for the year. And there was a lot of other things, that kind of came with that. But the idea is that during these little cross-quarter days, they believe that the veil is thin between either the conscious and the subconscious, or the living and the dead, or whatever the case may be. And so sometimes there are some odd things that happen. And this holiday is actually exactly across the wheel of the year from Samhain, which is the festival that eventually became Halloween. So, there's pranks and things like that. Well, according to tradition, there are also strange coincidences and pranks and things like that happen with Beltane. And so the theory is that doing some of these things will help thwart those pranks or whatever. Have you guys ever celebrated Beltane in any way, or May Day as it's commonly called here?
Well, I was just thinking that, you don't really hear about, the whole spirits close to the veil on Beltane, or 6 months before Samhain. You don't really hear about that like you do at Halloween.
And I wonder if that is because we're more focused on that spooky, scary, that aspect of Samhain.
It's all very Americanized, and we're Americans, and
right,
Americans or Christians in general just kind of took pagan holidays and
rewrote them a lot.
Yeah, rewrote them and ran with them, and
right.
I guess didn't care about Beltane.
Right. Well, I mean, they do still celebrate Beltane in some places, but like I said, they call it May Day. And
well, it's a completely different day, though.
No, it's on May 1st.
Well, I know it's on May 1st, but it's a completely different thing, May Day.
No.
No.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just called by another name. And so what they do is, they have maypoles, and you'll often see, because it's the spring moving into the summer, so there's lots of flowers growing. April showers bring May flowers and things like that. And so you'll often see people make flower garlands or little crowns of flowers for their hair, and people dress in bright colors, like girls will wear bright dresses. And then there's the maypoles that the big pole, and they have to have the ribbons, and they go around the maypole and wrap it with the ribbons, and those things that's all part of that May Day festival, which is part of the Beltane. And they come from different places. So like the May Day part of it with the maypole and stuff, a lot of that comes from the British and the Germanic heritage.
Uh-huh.
But they've all kind of been
intertwined.
Cross-cultural contamination, if you will, I guess. I don't know. But there's a lot of things like that kind of go together. But the actual Beltane festival started as an Irish thing.
Yeah.
And it is a fire holiday, or a fire festival. And so they celebrate the fire. They celebrate the sun, which is a big ball of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have the fire, bonfires going, and things like that. And then, like I said, they were talking about the veil of being thin during that time of year, and the fairy, the Irish believe in the fairy folk and things like that. And so there's actually some things like traditions like leaving a small cup of milk or a piece of bread for the fairies, so they don't mess with you, basically. So, but there are some other holidays that have kind of come out of May Day and Beltane, but one of them is International Workers' Day, where workers petition to have an 8-hour workday.
See, and that's what I was thinking, like what May Day was like the International Workers' Day. That's why I was saying, well, it's a completely different thing.
But it came out on, it's that part of that same day, and I don't know if how that holiday wound up on that day or whatever, but it is on the same day. And that one, the idea is that they're just like the wheel of the year is divided into these 8 celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
The day is divided into 3 sections of 8 hours. And they believed that you should work for 8 hours, you should sleep for 8 hours, and then you should have 8 hours to do whatever you want. And
well, man, I
know.
I should stop working for 12 hours then.
Right.
But that's the idea, is that that you should have 8 hours to do basically what you want with it. But we all know that's not very realistic either. So
that by the time I get home from like driving an hour there and an hour back, that's like at least 10 hours of my day.
That's because you need to work closer to home or live closer to work.
You choose to drive that far.
Yes.
So to answer your question, now that you've like explained like May Day, Maypole, all that stuff, which I knew about, as far as like Maypole, but I didn't associate.
You didn't tie them together. Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Every May, my hometown. So I guess I have celebrated something similar. Every May, my hometown has what is called the May Picnic.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a debutante / May Day / spring / picnicky type thing where there's, dancers and people selling stuff and singers and music, and then like a king and queen is crowned, and there's a court, and everybody gets dressed up in whatever theme. It used to be like everybody wore like older style type dresses, on like medievally type, and then nowadays I think whoever coordinates it, think one year everybody dressed like Southern belles. So
I wonder if that is. I was just looking online to see, and I'm not really familiar with this. I was not raised as a debutante. I don't think Lubbock even has debutantes really. Well, I know they did.
Probably do.
They
probably
do.
do.
I
Like
know
it-
some
like-
people who did that. But I was wondering if that is like similar to the debutante season, because they would, traditionally in Europe, the girls would come out from between the age of like 16 and 20 or 22 or so, and they would present themselves to the queen, and then they were out in society and could be courted for marriage. And
it runs from spring to summer.
okay, so
Debutante
I
season.
wonder if that part of that is, it may be tied in with that as well. So yeah, that's very interesting. I never celebrated really any kind of May Day or Beltane or anything, but over the last year, I've been trying to work on, I have been working on putting together a fire pit in my backyard. It's in the place where my above ground pool used to sit. So my husband had very carefully created this level sand filled circle to put our instant pop up pool in. And after he passed, I had decided that I was not going to set up my pool anymore because I won't swim by myself. It's not safe to go swimming by yourself, and it's a lot of work for just one person. So I was looking at this big circle and thinking, well, do I, fill in some dirt or something and try to get the grass to grow where there's nothing but sand, or what do I do with this? So I decided that I wanted to build a fire pit because I can make little bonfires or campfires, whatever you want to call it, in my backyard and enjoy that fun, I was originally thinking in the fall, when it's kind of chillier outside and sitting around roasting marshmallows and stuff. But then the more I got into some of the metaphysical, holistic, spiritual, mystical things that we've been talking about and studying and been exposed to over the last few years, I decided that I wanted to start celebrating some of the holidays with those bonfires. And so I'm thinking, or I'm trying to put together a thing for Beltane to light my Beltane fire in my fire pit in my backyard this year as a inaugural event. So for my fire pit.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to doing that. And, I'm going to keep it really simple and really, I don't like getting into too many pagan practices. When I say pagan, I actually Wiccan practices, or religious practices with any of those things. But I think it would be fun to celebrate the coming of summer with a quick little bonfire on May Day and celebrate the accomplishments and the growth that I've had over the spring, and use it as a transition into summer and new things that are going on in my life. So I'm kind of excited about it. So I think it'll be fun. There was another thing. I was doing some research. As I said, I've not celebrated Beltane before, but I'm looking forward to it. And I was doing some research, and something else that I found that I thought was kind of interesting was that you should collect the morning dew from the morning of May 1st and then wash your face in it. And the idea is that supposedly, if you wash your face in this dew that you've collected, then you will be as beautiful on the outside as you are on the inside. And I could use all the help I could get with that. So I don't know how I'm going to collect that. We may not even have cool enough weather to have dew. I don't know. It may burn off before I ever get out of bed. I don't know. But I think it would be interesting to just to observe some of those fun things like putting out the bread and the milk for the fairies and, just for fun. It, can't hurt, might help. Hell of a crowd pleaser. So, yeah.
Watch out for them fairies, though. They're troublemakers.
I know. Well, that's why you give them the milk and the bread.
Okay.
Why are you making a face?
I'm just like, be careful. Them fairies
No,
are nothing
that's why
but trouble.
you give that to them so they don't mess with you. That's
Feed a
the whole
cat,
point.
he comes
Give them
back.
some fairy bread.
Yeah, fairy bread. I'll give them some really good sweet bread. So, and there's some other things that you can do if you really just want to be more mindful of Beltane. You can do things like just be connected with nature. Go out and do a hike or a walk in your park, or do a scavenger hunt of something. Don't pick things up and take them, but observe, take photographs, make note of. You could take leaf rubbings. There's probably not too many leaves. That's more of a fall thing, but you could do some things like that, and just be aware and observant of nature in its growth cycle, because this is the high growth cycle, and that's just it's a good thing to be anyway, because it's kind of gives you a little peace and stuff. Do you have any plans for this Beltane, Kristen?
I sure don't.
And you have not ever practiced any Beltane?
Not really,
celebrations
no.
either,
I
have
mean,
you?
I think the thing that, when we were talking about the festivals, I think, the Scarborough Fair kind of lands around there.
It really
It
does.
It does.
Thinking about festivals and stuff like that, and Irish and medieval type festivals, that would be a fun thing to do for Beltane, is go
Yes.
to the Renaissance Fair.
That would be. And the one here in the Dallas area, which is called Scarborough Fair, is actually in operation at that time of day. And they do have a maypole, if I'm not mistaken.
They do have a maypole.
Right, that's why I was thinking of that.
Right,
Because it's
right.
like right during that time.
Right.
Well,
right.
it typically starts the first Saturday in April, so
Okay.
it's looking like actually this Saturday starting,
yeah.
because it's typically like the first Saturday in April, and it goes through Memorial Day.
Okay. So
And
that's actually longer than I thought it was, because I thought it was only like 4 to 6 weeks. So
And that makes a lot of sense, because I think the first weekend they do the maypole, where the maidens go and wrap the pole.
right. Okay.
I just associated that. Thank you, Kristen.
Uh-huh.
All together.
Yeah.
That just kind
Putting
of
it all together.
associated in my head.
So of any of the things that I've mentioned, are you interested in doing any aside from going to Scarborough Fair on May Day or whatever?
Going to Scarborough Fair.
I was just you were talking about putting bread and milk out for the fairies, and then I mentioned fairy bread, and I was just like, that's actually a thing. And so fairy bread made for the fairies, which actually it's typically a children's party treat, but it's just plain white bread with butter melted into it and sprinkles on top.
Sprinkles. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or sugar sprinkles.
Sugar.
Or
Yeah,
Sugar.
sprinkles.
That's what I was thinking. Sugar sprinkles. Yeah.
Yeah, so sprinkles on top, and so it's all colorful and fairy-like.
Oh, how fun. Yeah. Now, I like the
So-
idea of the dressing in the bright colors. And, we kind of do that anyway, like we do it for Easter, right?
which is in April.
which, well,
Oh yeah, no,
sometimes.
we're talking
This
about
year.
May. My brain.
Yeah.
I
But that
can't
time,
think.
but we associate spring with those bright colors, so we start wearing those bright dresses or whatever, and so that I kind of like the idea of wearing something bright and lively, and maybe a big floral print or something on May Day,
Okay.
and you can make like you can go pick all the dandelions out of your yard and make yourself a little halo of dandelions to go in your
Okay.
head, or yeah.
Light a fire, wear bright colors,
Mhm.
slap some morning dew on your face,
Yes.
and make
And
some
eat some
fairy
bread.
bread and
Yeah.
stick it outside with
And
some
you will
milk.
be beautiful and happy,
And the fairies won't attack you. Unless they're like Resand from Akatar. He can attack me.
Is he a fairy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The Fae.
I don't trust
Yeah.
the Fae. I do not.
Don't trust the
I,
Fae.
so I think of it also, like I said, purification and transition, and we've done several kind of purification and transition type activities as together. Like last fall we did our book burn event, and I wonder if there's some things like that you could also incorporate into, if you see the bonfire as a purification event, could you, throw your
Well, I
things
was
into the
thinking
fire?
about saging my house because it's,
Oh yeah, okay.
Some
That's
spring saging.
well, and something else they were talking about that you could do would be to sunbathe. So, go outside and lay in the grass and just soak up some sun, because since it is a fire festival, the sun is, like I said previously, just a great big ball of fire. So, you're kind of soaking up some rays, getting some vitamin D, and just kind of relaxing in that. And that's another thing that you can do.
Well, another activity, like maybe something transitional you were talking about,
Yeah.
that can be done during May Day or Beltane is they make these things called May bushes or Beltane bushes.
Okay. I think I saw something, but I didn't read about it.
So typically that involves decorating a branch or a bush with putting flowers and tying them with ribbons
Oh.
and
okay.
other items that like symbolize the beginning of summer and fertility.
Okay. Okay.
And because you can decorate them and like anything very spring like and anything that represents purification. And why typically like people do that, it kind of represents like fertility and the return of life, warding off evil spirits. It's like it's a symbol for renewal,
Okay.
and it's associated with like good luck. You keep it in your house, and you can keep it in your house, or you can decorate one of the bushes in your front yard.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any bushes in my
So
front yard.
that would
Do I
like
need to plant one now?
so that would like if you decorate the bush like during Beltane, it is supposed to like ward off bad luck.
Okay. Okay.
From your
Actually, I
house.
guess I do have a bush, because I guess the lantana kind of becomes a big bush, doesn't it? So I do have a bush.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of
That'll
like we kind of have I have like a Texas sage type bush in the front of my house. So you could just go out, like if you don't make, your own little bouquet type thing, you can just go out and decorate a bush in front of your house and tie some ribbons on it, maybe put like some sparkly things,
Okay.
jewels,
Oh yeah.
feathers,
fun.
even
Okay.
flowers.
Anything that represents spring.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking when you started talking about, and then I started thinking about my lantana, and I was thinking about flowers, which brought me back to, squirrel brain here, right? Back to the dandelions, and I forgot something else about the dandelions is a lot of people make dandelion tea. Now, I have never done dandelion tea. I've never even eaten dandelion in my salads, but I know a lot of people like it. It's a very popular thing to, have dandelion greens in your salad. Have you ever eaten those, Kristen?
Not that I know of. The only dandelions I've consumed is tea.
You have had the tea?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very
Was it
good.
good?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's not like, I love this tea like chamomile or,
Uh-huh.
good old iced tea.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
Okay.
it's just an herbal tea.
Right, right. So I didn't know, does it taste like dirt, or does it taste like green, or does it taste like flowers, or does it taste like...
Neither.
Yeah?
I don't know. It just tastes like a different kind of herb, I guess,
Okay. But your dog loves them.
Oh, man, she loves them. So I guess dandelions are supposed to be good for your digestive tract.
Okay.
They release some, enzyme that helps smooth the move, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. But she's always out there eating them. She loves to eat them.
How funny.
She sees them and she goes for them.
The flower, right?
Yeah, the yellow
The
flower.
yellow flower. Wow.
Mhm.
That's
She just
interesting.
goes out there and eats them out of the yard. And if I pick them, she'll just eat them like a treat.
That's crazy.
She
You
loves
bring her,
them.
Bring her over here and let her eat
I
mine,
know,
right? Well,
Yeah.
I found out when I was doing this research also that dandelions are one of the first flowers that pop up in the spring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My
And
yard
they
is full of them,
are
right?
an important flower for pollinators. So in poisoning the dandelions or, getting them out of our yard, we're limiting the food sources for bees and butterflies and
Because
moths
they need it first.
and other pollinators. Yeah. So something to be aware of. Maybe wait until the little seed head pops up and then get rid of it or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Beltane is also a good time, mid-year, to set your intentions for the rest of the year.
Right.
Or it's saying that it's a time to take further action.
Right, because
You
it's
set-
a
yeah.
transition period.
Mhm.
Right.
You set them at the beginning of the year, and now it's time to take further action.
Right.
And if you're not because it is fertility and spring and stuff like that. So if you're not wanting to have babies or anything like that, it's a good time to be creative and start
Right.
new creative projects.
Because fertility is
something
not
else.
just
Yeah.
about human reproduction or animal reproduction. It can also be about birthing new ideas, new projects, new goals. And they become like your babies, that's the way I feel about my projects. They are my babies. My other babies grew up and they have, babies of their own now. So, but my projects now are my babies. So
now is the time to start. I'm just kidding. Now is the time to finish your old ones and start a new one,
Right,
Kristen.
right.
Forget all your old projects, Kristen. Put them away. I'm just kidding. Now is the time to either
Or
refresh an old
refresh a
project or start a new project.
Well, and the thing about that too is sometimes if you have old projects that are sitting there that are unfinished, there's a lot of times there's a reason why it's not finished. Maybe you're stuck and you need to look at it with fresh eyes, and maybe you need to transform that project into something else or work at it from a different angle or something like that. And that would include that transition thing there. Look at it. If you've been trying to work on your garage forever and you're not making any headway,
Or your
Throw it all away.
Your parents' storage unit.
Yeah, throw it all away. That's what I said I was going to do.
or not
throw it all away.
but look at it from a different angle. Do something different to change the energy, to change the focus, and then maybe you can get get more progress out of it. And I've done that with several projects over the years, that started out as one thing, but by the time I really got it to start working well for me, it was because I I had to change the way I was working it. And I think that happens in most projects, at least to some small degree.
For sure, for sure.
So
Oh,
that's a
that's good.
Yeah.
So, what project are you going to be working on?
um
Hard to decide.
I don't know. I really haven't. I've got several things kind of in the works. I'm thinking about redecorating my bedroom, which I have a vision, and I don't know how hard it's going to be, but I want to create this really warm, dark, bohemian master bedroom feel.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do with my master bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Heavy drapes and blackout shades and really warm, luxurious blankets on the bed and rugs and probably some dark paint on the wall. Right now, my paint on my wall, I call it white. My husband swore it was gray. I think it's just because there's no light in that room very well. But it's like a white to a gray color. And I hate it. I hate it. And so I think I want to put something, and I can't, I'm going back and forth between a teal or a plum color.
Plum.
I know.
Yes, plum.
I know. And then
That's my living room color right now.
And then the accents would be, because I already have a lot of gold and black, in the furniture and in the bedding, and the existing curtains that I have. But so I was thinking, do the plum, and then have gold, and then also have like maybe some that really dark teal. I mean, and when I say dark teal, I'm like talking really dark teal, and maybe some forest green accents with the plum. So it's just really, yeah, like peacock feather almost, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So I'm kind of going that way with it, I think. But I don't know. I haven't quite got there yet, because it's quite an undertaking, and it would require painting and new carpet and all of that, and that would require taking down my bed, and then where am I going to sleep, and I got to move all my furniture, and I'm just not sure if I'm ready for that. So, but that's one of the things that I want to work on for this year. So I don't know.
I'm in the middle of a move,
Yeah.
so
That's a big
I don't
transition.
really have a lot of time for celebrating
Right.
the seasons, because I'm in my own season right now. So, I mean, that's,
Decorating a new house.
yeah, I'm boxing everything up and just
Eh.
really like I'm gonna pull one thing out at a time.
When
And-
you unpack.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want to just kind of start over a new face.
Start fresh. Transition.
That's what I did.
Back to that transition. Start fresh. Start with things you love.
Exactly.
And only
yeah.
and don't
And I'm
put
not keeping
don't
stuff just
keep
because
things
it's-
just because.
Yeah.
Keep things that you love.
It's exactly what I
Yeah.
did this last year. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
New husband, new things.
Sounds like a plan.
I don't need the new husband thing. You don't need the new husband thing either, Kristen.
Y'all are single. New husband, new things. You only get married twice.
No, then it's over for me.
You're done.
I don't think I'll ever get married again anyway. Even if I have an involvement of some kind someday, I probably won't ever get married again. So
A lot of trouble.
it is a lot of
A lot of
trouble.
hassle.
And here I am. I'm getting my house the way I want it. And I don't mind sharing my house from time to time, but I don't want somebody else telling me what to do with my house. It's my house.
Yeah.
So you just marry a man that lets you do whatever you want.
Those
No,
are usually
so-
the men that don't do anything you want them to do.
Exactly.
He
Yes.
does whatever I want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to ask.
Yeah.
He's
That's
not going to do
usually
it
the
on
way it
his
works
own. I
anyway.
have to ask.
Yes. Yes.
Like a man.
That's the way that works a lot.
That's why they call it a honey-do list.
Uh-huh. Honey, do
He
this.
on his days off, he gets a honey-do list.
Yeah. Well, at least you have a honey who will do the things on the list. So,
Yeah.
I have often had honeys who don't do the things on the list because they're too busy doing the things on their own list. So,
And he doesn't, and it's nice. Like, he doesn't complain that I spend my days off on grad school.
yeah. Well, that won't last that much.
Yeah, I know
longer.
that won't be
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Unless you decide to
supporting-
go for your PhD.
right. No, I'm done after this. I say that, and then I'm like, ooh, squirrel, let's study something else.
Well, that's the thing. You know what? That's the thing about learning and
Lifelong
being
learning,
a
yeah.
lifelong learner. You know, it's like there's always something more to learn.
Yeah, could I just be a student for my career?
Well, I don't want to. You know what? I would love that, except I
Amber's
don't
like,
want to
"That
have to
sounds
take.
like fun.
I don't want to have
for
to
the
take
papers.
tests, and I don't want to have to study
And I
things
don't want to
wanna
write
study.
papers or take tests. Yeah.
Well, the papers, I don't mind. I just hate these 100 and 200 question tests that you only have 2 hours to do it in, and all of the questions are situational.
Or
That's what gets
or
me.
200-page reading that you have to do before tomorrow. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Well, I don't have much of anything else to say about Beltane, except I hope that your May Day is a blessed and happy day. And go outside and soak up some sun,
Touch some grass. Yeah.
touch
May-
some grass.
touch some dew, yeah,
Yep.
and make some fairy bread.
Or eat some fairy bread, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, but don't hog it from the fairies. Share some with the
you
fairies
have to share.
because they may come turn your dew into something.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about next week, Miss Kristen?
Well, next week we have another holiday type episode coming up because
Oh,
we
yeah.
love our
Oh.
holidays. Literally, can you hear me rolling my eyes?
we just like to celebrate everything.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
have Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up. So come
Any
back
excuse
next
to
week.
eat food.
Right.
Right.
We'll talk about our Mother's Day plans of the past and
Yeah.
Father's Days.
Yeah.
And we'll connect
And
next time.
How
Looking
we
forward to it.
celebrate that. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you to all of our listeners for sticking with us, for staying through our hems and haws and hums and all that, and for coming back week after week. We love having you listen to our oddball conversations. And if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss on the podcast, we'll be starting to plan for next year's series, and we would love to hear what you would like to hear us talk about. And you can also join in the conversation, tell us about your Beltane plans or any May Day celebrations that you've participated in. And you can do that over on our chat group from our Facebook page. The chat group is called MMC Chat, and you can access it from the Modern Musings Facebook page. I believe you can also access it from our website, which is modernmusings.net. And don't forget to check out our blogs there too. When there are blogs, there's some pretty cool ones there. And we'll be back next week with information and more celebrations of Mother's Day and Father's Day. Until then, bye.
Bye.